Good morning to all. Welcome back to the computer class. I hope your online as well as offline lectures are going on smoothly. So today in this class we are going to study something else, as for so many days we were discussing about tokens. What are tokens? What are the different types of tokens? And we have seen everything in detail. So today we will see bare bones of a Python program. What are the things, or what are the various structures which constitute a Python program? So we can see over here, these are some of the things which are included in a Python program. Your expressions, statements, comments, function, blocks and indentation. So your Python program consists of all these things. So we will be seeing each of these things in great detail over here. So for seeing that, we need to first understand how a Python program looks like. So I'm going to write a very simple Python program which consists of all these various constructs. So we start with the first step over here. A Python program can contain one or more of these things. So you can see over here a very simple Python program, and I don't want to confuse you with all the constructs at once because I'll be teaching all these to you separately. So you can see over here the very first thing, that is expressions. So which all expressions can you see over here? So this is an example of an expression. An expression, a Python expression could be consisting of L value would be an identifier as I had explained, and your right side could be an expression. So when I say expression, it could be something like this, or B equals A plus 4 divided by 2 plus 8 multiplied by A, and any such expression of the like. So anything which involves the use of operators along with operands, it becomes an expression. So we have expressions, we have statements. Each of these lines which you can see over here, okay, all the lines which you see, they all are statements within a Python program. So these all are statements. Comments. This line which starts with a hashtag, it is a comment. Function. You can see something over here which starts with a keyword def. This is a function. Then you have blocks and indentation. So you can see over here that when we have written def add, we have started return after giving it some space. So this is known as indentation. and this def, that is this function add, it is a separate program block. Similarly, this group of statements is a separate program block. So you can see all a Python program, a typical Python program is made up of all these various constructs. Let us see each of these constructs in detail. So we will first see expressions. So when we talk about expressions, we can have expressions which contain operands and operators. So if you have something which is like this, a plus b, a minus b, these are what? These are all expressions. Now expressions, it's not necessary that they would contain only two operands and one operator in between. They could be anything. Like if I write so this is an expression which is used for calculating roots of a quadratic equation. So if I have to represent this in the form of a Python expression, then I would be writing it in this way. For this, I would have to take R1. Now I have no way of representing both plus and minus. It means once will calculate it as plus and once will calculate it as minus. So one expression would be R1, where we would write R1 this way, plus math dot sqrt b square, which is b raised to the power 2 minus 4 into a into c. This whole thing divided by 2 into a. So we will enclose this whole thing within brackets. Divide this by 2 multiplied by a. So this is how we represent an expression in Python. So we can have numerous such expressions, like if you want to represent simple interest. Normally, what is the formula for simple interest? It is something like this. P into R into T divided by 100. So in case of Python, how would we do that? We have to create an identifier which will be used for storing simple interest. Now this simple interest cannot be considered as identifier because there is a space in between. So we can create an identifier which can be something like this. Simple underscore interest equals so instead of this multiplication, we have used asterisk, which is used for representing multiplication sign in Python, and we have used the division sign for division operation. So these expressions, these mathematical formulae or expressions which are represented in Python or any programming language, they make up what? Expressions. So any Python program can contain one or more of these kind of expressions. Next is statements. Every individual line of a Python program that makes up a statement. You can have input statements, you can have output statements in a Python program. So second one is statements. So when we say statements, we can have input statements also, we can have output statements also. Input statements are usually represented by the function input, and output statements are usually represented by the function print. So how do we represent this? Let us see an example. So for this we can use, for input we need the function input, which is usually used in this way. That is, on the left hand side we would have an identifier. First we'll write the syntax for input. We would have an identifier over here. I have enclosed this identifier within angular brackets to show that it is a user defined identifier. That is, any identifier which is created by user. So you can see over here, this is one syntax, and the second syntax would be the other syntax is this. Now what is the difference between these two? In the first one we don't have any function over here. That is, we just have the input statement and a prompt or message. So the first statement which we see over here, it is basically used for all the string type data. It is used for asking or reading string type data. That is, if you want to read someone's name, someone's address, someone's phone number, okay, someone's favorite subject. So for all those type of data which are basically alphanumeric in nature, you will be using what? Input function without any type conversion over here. In the second case, we will be using a type conversion function over here. Why? Because if we need to enter any value which is other than string, like for example it could be integer, float, complex, boolean, list, tuple, dictionary. So for that type we would be needing a conversion function which would first allow input function to read the value from the user, which will be in the form of string, and then this function would be converting this into the required type. This function, this type conversion function here would be converting this string object into any required type. So let us see an example of this. When we talk about the first one, an example could be my name equals input, enter your name. So this here, what you see, this is the prompt or the message which you are giving to the user. It's just a prompt which will appear on the screen. Whenever the user runs the program, he needs to have some message to understand what is to be done. These prompts make the program user friendly. They make the program user friendly and easy to understand and easy to read. Okay, so these prompts, their task is basically to provide a guide to the user to make the user understand where he or she has to enter the data. So with this, the user will understand that he or she has to enter the name of the person, and that name would be saved in my name. So the next one is the type conversion function. How to do that? So suppose we want to read someone's age. Now what is age? Age is a numeric quantity. Specifically, it is an integer quantity. So we will use the int function to convert the read input into integer. Enter age. If you do not use this integer function, then whatever age the user is entering, suppose 16, it will be considered as a string without this integer function, and you won't be able to perform any calculations on this. So to make sure that whatever value the user enters for age, it should be in the form of integers, we have to use the int function over here. Okay, so this is how statements work. Now we also have output statements. So you have already seen this in the previous examples. We will just be repeating this. Now for representing print. The print function comes in various flavors. One, it is just used for printing any message on the screen. Like I type here hello world. So this hello world message will be printed on the screen. Within the double quotes, whatever you write, it doesn't really matter. Okay, what matters is the quotes which you are using. You can also use a single quotes, a pair of single quotes to insert the prompt. So I already had explained that strings in Python, they accept double quotes as well as single quotes. The same thing if you want to write. Now here we have seen a single line string. If you want to write a multi-line string, it would be something like this. I already explained that multi-line strings always begin with either triple single quotes or triple double quotes, as you can see here. This is a multi-line string, and you can close the triple double quotes there. So the advantage of such kind of strings is automatically a new line character is added over here. So this way you can use print. Another way of print is print accepts some arguments also. Like if I have two values here, I have a comma b equals 4 comma 5, which means in the memory we have two places 4 and 5 where a is pointing to 4 and b is pointing to 5. So how will it be? Print, I write here a and then I write print b. So in this case 4 and 5 would be printed on the separate line. Okay, but if you want to print both of them on the same line, then you would have to use an argument along with the print function, which is end. So by default, end is what? New line. By default, its value is this. Carriage return. This R is for carriage return. And this is for new line. That is, use a carriage return and insert a new line there. So this is the default value, hence we don't need to provide this value. But if we provide a space after this, that is a single white space, then 4 and 5 would be printed this way with a space in between. If this same space I replace by a comma, then a comma would be printed in between. Okay, so it is like this. I have written a, then end, comma, that is after printing a there should be a comma, and then next line there is a b, print b and change the line. This is the meaning of this statement. So whatever character, whether printable or non-printable, you insert in end, that would be printed after whatever you have provided over here. Another example is if I use an escape sequence character like /t. Now what is /t used for? It is the escape sequence character for horizontal tab. So for horizontal tab it would be like this. A would be printed and after A some space would be given and then B would be printed, and here because there is nothing provided for end, which means it is carriage return and new line, so a new line would, carriage return would be there and a new line would be inserted over here. So this is how print works. Another important feature of print is it also allows a separator. If suppose I write print I love India, by default when I type this it would be printed this way. But if I want to print dashes in between, then I would be writing it this way, I love. So suppose I am writing something like I have written these three words separately. If I just write these three words separately like this, then by default I would be getting a space in between. Suppose I want a dash in between. I want the output to be something like this, with a dash in between. So for that I will have to use an argument over here known as SEP, which stands for separator. By default the separator is the default value for separator is space. That is the reason why we get a space in between every time. So if I want a hyphen in between, then I would have to provide the separator as a hyphen. Then only I will be getting a hyphen in between. Suppose I replace this hyphen with an asterisk sign. Then in place of the hyphen here, I would be getting asterisk in between. So this is your print statement. So input as well as output statements in a program, and all the lines and instructions which make up a Python program, they all are actually program statements. Next is comments. Now comments are some extra lines which are provided in a Python program which are not interpreted by the interpreter, which are actually we don't see any output of comment lines on the screen, because comments are something which are only provided for reference of the programmer. It's only given for the reference of the programmer. That is, if the programmer wants, the programmer can include comment lines in the program which will enable the programmer to understand what he has done at every step. Because normally Python programmers, they work with large projects, and in large projects they have to write around 1000 lines of code. So for 1000 lines of code it becomes very difficult to figure out what they have done in a particular statement. So for that purpose, not for every statement but for all the main program blocks, or for every program blocks, the programmer would include some comment lines. There are two types of comment lines. One is single line comment and one is your block comment. Single line comment is represented by a hashtag, and block comments, they start or end with a single triple quotes or a single double quotes, and they are not read by the interpreter. That is, they are not converted, or they are not converted into object code, they are not converted into assembly code, or execute, neither are they executed. So these comment lines will never be participating in the execution. Okay, so how the comment lines are mentioned? So suppose you are writing a small Python program. So I'll write a simple program for adding two numbers. So you are writing a small program, c equals a plus b, and you simply write here print c. So you can simply give a comment line over here, printing sum of a and b. Whatever you write after the comment line is up to you, but you have to make sure that it is on the same line if you are using a hashtag. If you want to continue this comment line on the next line, you have to also use a hashtag here, or you can just press spaces or tab, reach this area, again type this hashtag, and you can continue your comment line. So you can write as many hashtags as possible. I can write a hashtag over here, value of b. I can write here value of a, and here I can write sum of a and b. So you can cover your entire program with comment lines, but it is not necessary to give your comment lines in a program, but it is considered as a good programming practice. That is, it comes under a type of, you can say that it is a convention, or it is a traditional approach, or it's a tradition. There are certain things which don't fall under the category of rules. That is, even if you don't follow those rules, it is, if rules are something which are mandatory to follow, like if you don't provide this equal to over here, then it would be considered as a syntax error. Okay, so it would be considered as an error. But if you don't provide comment lines, it is not considered as error. Your program will execute, you will get the output, everything will be done. Only thing which you will be lacking is good programming practice. Your program will lack readability. Your program will lack understandability. Okay, it won't be readable, it won't be readable and understandable in case of large programs. These comment lines, they actually make your program more readable and more understandable. If you are writing a program and you want to show it to your teacher, so your teacher would read the comment lines and she would understand the entire logic of your program. Okay. There are some comments which are known as block comments also, which we basically use we use them in the beginning of the program. We use them in the beginning of the program, and they are used for specifying info about your program. That is, you can type the program question, you can also type what is the name of the program, all these things. So let me tell you how we provide these block comments. Suppose you are trying to create a program for calculating roots of a quadratic equation. So you will be specifying it like this. A pair, you can use triple single quotes or triple double quotes, and you can write the question here. So you can see that before starting your program, where you will be starting your program from here, you have written a block comment which specifies the question, program name, size on the disk, and any other info which is required. So basically these block comments are specified at the beginning of a program to describe the program, and single line comments are basically used for documenting each and every line. This is very important part of a program, students, which is known as documentation. Providing proper information about your program, that is known as documentation. And as per CBSE, we have to pay more attention to documentation and indentation of code. Although indentation is a mandatory feature in Python, there are many programming languages which do not, in fact all other programming languages do not consider indentation to be a mandatory feature. Python is the only program which uses indentation for representing block code. So that way our indentation, our programs are automatically indented. So it will always be there. What we need is documentation in a program. Comment lines should be provided wherever necessary in our program. So henceforth, whenever you start programming and write programs, always pay attention to proper documentation of your program. Next is function. Now, although there is a chapter function, so we will be discussing functions in detail in that chapter, because discussing the complete functions here would be completely beyond the scope of this discussion. So I'll just give you a small introduction about what are functions, and then we move on to the next. So talking about the fourth part, that is functions. Functions are actually sub-programs. They are not exactly complete programs, but they are short programs which perform a definite task. You can consider them as small modules or small blocks in a program which take some input from the main program, okay, and they give some output. They can take some input, not necessarily from main program, but they can take input from any other function also, and they will give us some output. Usually they are represented by the keyword def. So suppose I write def message. I can type here print hello world. So this is a function. Whenever we call this function in our program, we would be calling it like this: message followed by this pair of round brackets which are known as parentheses. We will pronounce it as parentheses. Okay, parenthesis stands for these pair of round brackets. Always you will have parentheses after your function name. Your functions will always contain a parenthesis. This parenthesis is for supplying extra information in the form of arguments. Arguments are extra information which are supplied to your functions. The function would work on those arguments and it may or may not return any value. So these functions we would study in detail in the chapter functions. Last is blocks and indentation. So lastly we have blocks and indentation. in our Python program, sometimes you will also come across program blocks, like one you already saw with your functions. So the function is there, name of the function is provided, and you have some statements. Now before these statements, you can see, now because we have used a def keyword over here, that is, we are starting a new program block. This is a block, and these statements will always start after leaving some space. This space is known as indentation, and indentation is mandatory in Python. Suppose I write a program, if age is greater than 18, greater than equal to 18. So after this I will leave some space and type here print is eligible for voting. Else print not eligible for voting. So in both these statements you have seen that we have left some space. So this is known as what? Indentation. So this space which is left, that is known as indentation, and this is known as a program block. So the idea of program blocks would become clearer when we start with our selection statements and looping or iteration statements. So with this we conclude today's class. I hope you have understood all the bare bones of a Python program, all the constructs which are contained within a Python program.